with you to also reflect on. But obviously the first one would be, what is your perfect day? So, I mean, let your imagination go wild. Don't think about think perfect world, think like, what is your perfect day in your mind? So there's nothing off limits here. So what is your perfect day? Second one is, what brings you joy? And I know your family brings you joy. I get that. We love our families, but what else brings you joy? Okay. Because one thing that I like to make sure that I've said before, like when we did the Treasure Tuesday podcast, was that you are you before you were, a sister or a mom or a teacher or a principal. But so just go back to what brings you joy, and maybe not think about, yes, we love our family. So think about your family, but that's not your answer. And then the last one is, what is something that is working well for you right now? So if anybody wants to share an answer, I would love to hear. You could just unmute. If not, we'll keep moving, but just kind of come back to those questions when you can, to kind of see, it's a good reflection on what we're doing for ourselves right now. Okay. Oh, Shelly raised her hand.
I said I would be quiet, but I won't. So something that brings me joy is I love to read. So I like to read all sorts of stuff, not like even some probably surprising things. So I love to read, and that's where I kind of go when I need to have some stress time for myself. So.
Mm-hmm. Sierra?
One thing that's working well for me now, which it was brought on from COVID, thank goodness, is I started working out, and I needed that for just kind of get healthy and to make myself feel better too, and to get some of that energy out in a healthy way. And so I've actually started getting up and doing 5 o'clock workouts now because of my schedule in the evening, that it's working better. So it's working well for me right now. And I go to bed really early, which is not new.
Me too. Like I call myself a baby grandma. So I'm asleep by 8:30. I'm good. So somebody else put something in the chat. I'll read it real quick and then we'll. Morgan said, I am on my son's computer and don't know how to work it, but my dogs really bring me joy. Their love is unconditional and always make me feel happy. I totally agree. I say that my dog was what got me through COVID. So the whole shutdown. So, thank you for sharing. If anybody wants to share, you can always interrupt us. So Lindsay, if you want to change the slide, these are the types of self-care that we're going to talk about today. Because I think a lot of times when we think self-care, we think of the really fluffy kind of stuff that's like bubble baths and going to the spa and getting a facial and all that's fine and great. But there's a lot more to self-care than just bubble baths and pedicures. So some things we're going to talk about here: physical, social, mental, spiritual, and emotional self-care. All right. So Lindsay, you're up.
Okay. So physical self-care is probably my favorite self-care because I do enjoy working out. It is kind of my stress reliever. I have probably about a year ago invested in a Peloton, thanks to Willie. And it is probably my favorite piece of equipment in my house. So, or even piece of furniture sometimes. So that helps me. Are you getting enough sleep? Sleep is pretty important, and I don't think we always maintain that. So ask yourself that question. Are you eating a healthy diet, exercising, and moving your body intentionally? How are you fueling your diet? How are you managing your health? Are you attending doctor's appointments that you're supposed to have? Are you going to the dentist? All of those things to take care of yourself is a part of self-care. Social self-care. This is also very important, is maintaining those social relationships. So are you getting enough face-to-face time with your friends? I think it's important to note that we all require different types of social interaction. So you might be a person that's super social and needs to talk to your best friend every single day. Or maybe you can talk to them once a week or once a month and you're fine. So you are nurturing those relationships with your friends and your family is key to social self-care. So I'll let Brianna take the next one.
Hello, everybody. I am Brianna Mink. I am the counselor at the junior high if y'all are on another campus, and I am so happy to be with y'all today. I am going to be talking to you first about mental self-care. So this could be obvious things that you might be thinking of, like reading a book or doing puzzles, but it can also be creative things if you like photography or art, or one of my coworkers was painting last week. So all of those things, your passions, can be mental self-care. So just think about some of those things that you are doing for your mind and your body to help you as we navigate through this time. So does anybody want to share any of their mental self-care that they may love to do?
I'll share real quick. I'll say that although mine is mental, but it's also physical, and it's my Peloton too. Thanks, Willie, and thanks, Lindsay.
And Miss Morgan shared on the chat that she loves puzzles. I know a lot of people that have gotten into puzzles over the past year, so that's great as well. And it helps keep our mind young, and all of those things are important.
I enjoy reading. I'll just say I enjoy reading, and I've gotten recently into listening to a lot. I mean, I listen sometimes, usually when I mow the yard, but I've really listened a lot, like when I'm doing laundry and stuff, and listening to books, and so that's been good.
Great. And James also shared Sudoku. I love Sudoku as well. I love to do that on plane rides. I used to love taking plane rides. I have not done that in the past year, but that was my go-to for planes, was Sudoku. So thanks for sharing. The next one that we'll look at is spiritual self-care. And probably the obvious thing that comes to mind is participating in church services. That could be in person or virtually now. Participating in life groups or Bible studies. Again, it doesn't have to be in person. Those could be virtual. But it also includes other things that maybe aren't as obvious. It could just be reaching out to friends and checking on them, and how are you doing, and how can I help you? How can I pray for you? And being vulnerable and open with them and sharing, here's some struggles I'm having. Here's how you can pray for me, or here's what I need help with. And it obviously includes quiet time to ourselves too. It could be praying, it could be meditating, it could be reading, scriptures or books, or things that are helpful for you. So all of those include spiritual self-care. Does anyone want to share ways or things that help you?
I was thinking about like finding a meaning and a purpose. I feel like if we get stagnant in what we're doing every single day, we kind of lose that part of ourselves. So once we find our meaning and our purpose, it gives us more drive and helps us just to kind of push us along.
And I actually am one of those weirdos that gets to work ridiculously early every day. And quite honestly, one of my favorite parts of the day is my coffee. But B, when I get to work in the morning, I'm the only one in the office, and that's actually when I have some devotional time. And I just kind of focus my day and pray about my day as I move forward, finding my purpose for the day. And I really enjoy that time when nobody's around.
Thanks for sharing that, Tammy. I did want to mention that too, is to think about other times that are not as obvious. So obviously we're all busy. We lead crazy lives. And so sometimes it's hard to find the time, but think about times maybe when you're in the car and maybe you choose not to listen to the radio or the podcast that day. You choose just to have some time alone with yourself and your thoughts. Maybe it's when you're in the shower or in the bath, or just those little moments that you have. You can use all of those opportunities instead of being anxious and worrying and thinking about your day, just take that time to pray or to meditate or to read or to find something that's calming and centering to you. So that's what I have for spiritual self-care.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I was also reading the chats. There were some chats. I think Colette said that there's a few short podcasts for spiritual care that she shared on Twitter. They're about 2 to 5 minutes long. Oh, yes. Is it a daily prayer, Colette? Yep, your daily prayer. Yes, I love those too. Those are really good. So next up is emotional self-care, which I think really goes well with spiritual self-care. They kind of go hand in hand. So I think some of them are going to be similar to how, so like, do you have a healthy way of processing your emotions? One of those things that we may do when we're trying to process our emotions is also having that opportunity to sit in the silence and kind of be able to be with our thoughts and feel our emotions. Because a lot of times when our personalities, a lot of times are go, get things done. We've got all these things on our to-do list here at school, and we've got to get these done. And we don't really spend that time checking back in and saying, how are you doing? And really processing those emotions. And then activities in your life that also help you feel recharged. And some of those could be some of those physical things that you do for your physical self-care, but they could also be some that link back to your spiritual, which might be meditating or mindfulness. Mindful breathing is something that I know we incorporated a lot on the primary, elementary, and the intermediate campuses. And they are, that's something that is super easy and quick, and you can do it anywhere. It's not something that's like a big ordeal. And like, I do it multiple times a day. I stop and just like take some breaths, because if I am like in a point where I feel like I just know that if I'm a little flustered or there's something going on, if I just take a couple deep breaths, first of all, I'm able to calm myself and center myself, but I'm also able to react to whatever emotion that I'm feeling in a better way. So just making sure that you're allowing yourself that time to process emotions. And a lot of times we run around, and probably all of us have those shirts that say, I'm fine, it's fine, everything's fine, because that's how we live. And we were like, oh yeah, no, everything's fine, I'm good, everything's okay. But it's okay to sit with your emotions and say, okay, like, but really, what am I feeling? What do I need to do? Shelly Hujay, what do I need in this moment? Asking yourself what you need. Because a lot of times that's what we are here to serve other people and to make sure everybody else has what they need, but we don't come back and look and see, what do we truly need to be able to work through this? I love to listen to several songs that help me take a moment to regain. Yeah, I love that too.
I also think finding somebody to talk to just have somebody to listen to what you're struggling with, not necessarily even giving you advice, just somebody to be able to listen to the things. And that doesn't mean that you're a burden on them. Lots of friends want to listen to what's going on in your life, even if y'all don't have the same job or the same position, or even teachers that get together after school for happy hour. That's recharging your battery. That's self-care. So all of those things are easy things to do and extremely helpful. So
yeah, for sure. Okay, and so the next slide just talks about normalizing self-care, and I think that's what we're trying to do here. Is we're having the conversation, we're talking about it more. We're trying to talk about like what changes would you make to better protect things? How would you show up better for yourself, not just for other people? Because we've heard the whole term, you can't pour from an empty glass. So what can you do to give back to yourself first, so that you can make sure that you can be your best self for your students or your staff or your family? But also, what self-talk would you silence? Because I think a lot of times we have those negative thoughts that we think on repeat, like, you're not doing enough, or you're not a good teacher, or you're not a good this. And you have these things that you talk to yourself often. It's just kind of like that inner dialogue that we have. That's like our inner mean girl, or if you're a guy, your inner mean guy. So, but a lot of times I like to just imagine that the things that I say to myself, because I'm hard on myself for sure, and I think we all are. But sometimes when I get into that thought process of really talking negatively to myself, I ask myself, would I say that? Like, would I turn around and say these same things to Lindsay? Would I say these same things to Sarah? And the answer is no. Like, I would not say those things to them because they're hurtful, but I would say them to myself. So just remind yourself, like, what's the difference? Why are we okay with saying them to ourselves, but not to other people? And then take action to achieve your goal. So same thing, like just normalizing that we have to take care of us and what we want in life, and what, like Lindsay said too, kind of being able to decide like, what is your passion? Where do you want to go? What are your goals? And being able to take those action steps towards it. So overall, I'm really excited for this next part. Y'all are going to love it. And so I'm going to let Lindsay talk about that.
Okay, so I swear this is not a Peloton ad, but so Peloton is an exercise bike, and it also incorporates lots of self-care. So they recently introduced this series of rides that has to do with the year of yes. Yes being saying yes to yourself, saying yes to your health, just taking care of the whole you. Emotionally, physically. So this is an interview with Shonda Rhimes, who created Grey's Anatomy, and they have a whole podcast on it, but they have a whole series of things. So it's based on information from her and how she is developing this program. So I wanted to share it with y'all, and I will do that now.
And I will say that she has a book called Year of Yes, and if you haven't read it, read it. It's really good.
Queen Shonda Rhimes, it is my honor to speak with you today. I'm seeing your face, even though it's virtual, is intoxicating in all the good ways.
So excited to be talking to you too. This is really great. Even though we're like miles and miles apart and screens apart, I feel like we're sitting together having a conversation.
No, likewise. So for the folks watching, we are launching an insane, unprecedented partnership with Shonda Rhimes, trailblazer, producer, mother, writer, prolific storyteller. I mean, your bio, it would take all of our time together today if I were to read your bio. So we'll just go with those quick, iconic hits. Listen, you are the epitome of the working woman who is also balancing motherhood and running a business and running Shinaland and being wearing all of the hats, right? Not just the white hat from Scandal, but all of the hats.
All of that.
What do you say to the person who says, I don't have time to fit wellness into my day?
I have really come to the conclusion that if you can't fit it in, it means you can't do your day, really. Like, in order to take care of my kids, in order to take care of the people at work, in order to do my job, I have to take care of me. I mean, it's really true that you aren't doing your best if you're not taking care of yourself. And also, there's something about giving yourself the permission to prioritize yourself just a little bit that is, I mean, I know it feels selfish to most people, but it is so important. Like, I want to come to my kids as like the happiest mom I can be. And if I'm tired and feel and don't feel like I've been taking care of myself, they don't get the best of me. People at work don't get the best of me. They get a cranky me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think understanding that for yourself is one thing. And I know it's hard for most people. Most people are like, I came home from work, my kids are right there. I have cleaning to do. I have laundry to do, all those things. But just even getting like the 10 minutes, the 20 minutes in will really change your life. And that was the other thing. Because I used to think that in order to like be fit, I needed to like have like an hour of time. And that was never going to happen for me. So just giving myself the idea of consistency, which is something that I've heard you say so much, really refocused me on that idea.
You're saying yes to your body. You are saying yes to adding another line to your bio of becoming an athlete. Can we unpack that? I mean, have you ever identified as an athlete in your life, or is this new?
I identify as a couch potato. Like, I definitely identify as somebody who likes to lay down rather than stand up. So I think it's funny that we're not allowed to think of ourselves in any other definition. Sort of once, I don't know, somewhere in high school, you figure out like what you are and that's it. And, I decided that maybe it would be great to start thinking of myself in a different way. And if I started thinking of myself in a different way, maybe I would treat my body in a different way. And I said, like, what if I started to think of myself as an athlete? Not, I'm not going to be Serena Williams. Nobody's going to be Serena Williams. But if I began to think of myself as somebody who was athletic and an athlete, maybe I would train differently. Maybe I would feel differently. Maybe my idea of pride would be different. And my idea of what's athletic doesn't have to be, you know, an Olympian's idea of what's athletic. It has to be my version of that. And that could be okay. So yeah, I'm saying yes to being an athlete this year. And that's my goal.
What would you say to the person who is paralyzed by fear, right? So fear is, I think, a tool that we can use. And I have a feeling you've used fear quite a bit in your business life, but how have you kind of negotiated that relationship as it relates to fitness?
I mean, I think for everybody, there's the idea of you are writing your own story as you move forward. Doing the thing that scares you most, I discovered, undoes that fear. It's fascinating how when you think something's terrifying, if you do it, it stops being scary. And that sounds so counterintuitive, but it's really true. The things you think you aren't capable of, when you do them, whether or not you are amazing at it, or you stumble through it, or it's embarrassing, or what, you stop being afraid of it because you know that you've at least tried it or accomplished it or gone through the experience of it.
What do you think is your biggest impediment? Like, let's get real. Like, this isn't going to be necessarily a fairy tale. What is your biggest impediment to starting the workout, getting and keeping and staying in the game?
I mean, let's be honest. I do not like to work out. Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, I know people love it. I am not that person. If you are a beginner, or if you are the person like me who thinks like, I would rather be laying down, I'm your girl. Like, once I'm doing it, I love it. So my biggest impediment is like getting in the room, getting on the bike, putting the shoes on a lot of the time is my biggest impediment. And I have to force myself to do that. Finding the time is also a problem, but really you can make reasons why you can't find the time, when really what it is your impediment is getting in the room and making yourself do it. So for me, that's what it is. What I've started to do with myself and tell myself is, you can do 10 minutes. You can meditate for 5, you can stretch at the very least. And once I'm in the room, like once I'm down on a mat stretching, well, then suddenly I have the energy to do more, you know? It's also part of it's the fear. Like, I stare at that treadmill a lot and think like, one day I'm gonna have to like really actually start running on it. And so a lot of it's the fear of what you can't accomplish. And I'm gonna get there, but it's not easy to believe in yourself the way you believe in other people.
So I'm curious, what happens if and when you fall off? Then let's just talk about that, because I find that sometimes, not that you want to plan for that moment, but you do want to prepare for that internal conversation that can then turn into the spiral of, that's when I haven't touched that thing in 6 months, right? So what happens then? Do you rely on an accountability partner? Do you reach out to me? I'm happy to be your accountability partner. What happens if and when, and certainly folks who join, you know, by week 6, 7, 8, maybe not all of them are still with us, but I hope they rejoin. So what do you say to them?
I mean, I think that every time you start back up, you know, you don't have to call it day one. Like, to me, that was always the thing that I really hated, was this idea that like, I'd been going on a streak and I'd been doing really well and I'd been working really hard. And then like this summer, when the pandemic hit, I fell off. Like, I just was like, and that like had dust on it for a while. And then when I came back, I was like, oh, I have to start over again. And I realized I'm not starting over. I'm just picking up where I left off. To give myself permission to not feel like I had like regressed. To just give myself permission to feel like you're just picking up where you left off. Like, it's the sequel or something. Otherwise, you feel like it's just a hiatus. It just makes you feel better to me. And I do think having an accountability partner matters. I think having someone to tell matters. You know?
Do you have one?
I'm going to use you.
Okay. Please use me. And I know your sister is a boss and on the bike as well. So I have a feeling your sister will be saying, excuse me, miss, you were supposed to be on that ride. So closing thoughts, what do you want to say to the folks joining this journey, or any questions for me, or any thoughts about any of this? It's so exciting.
So we're going to be doing 4 workouts a week. So with different instructors, one of whom is you. And it's bike, tread, strength, and meditation. Our goal is for everybody to be consistent, to do what they can, but to be consistent about it. It's not, you better take this 45-minute class or you failed. And I don't know. I mean, I'm scared. I have to be honest. Like, I'm scared when I woke up and I was like, oh my God, we just told the world I'm going to do this thing. I'm scared, but join me. Like, it'll be fun. I think we're going to have a good time. And at the very least, I think you're going to discover stuff about yourself. At least I hope we're going to discover stuff about ourselves.
Yeah, because what's exciting is that we have kind of different chapters to the story, and we're going to have different ways to engage in those conversations, both in the classes and then on your channels and Peloton's channels. And I think, let's explore it. Let's get curious about our greatness, like explorers are, or about, Indiana Jones, our own greatness, right? And see what we uncover at the end of this. But it's definitely coming from a place of empowerment and community and collaboration. And there is zero judgment. And on the days where you just don't have it, the next day is there, right? So,
Yeah.
So we'll make each other stronger by having those honest conversations and facing those realities together.
Yeah. Thank you. This is good.
I'm so excited. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think everybody can do it, like find a friend and do it, like that you're talking to on the phone or you're Zooming with and talking about it with. So you have somebody also in your corner.
I love that. So I think two practical takeaways from our combo is schedule the workout, schedule where you think you can have those moments of respite, those 20-minute moments of self-care as a revolution. And second, find somebody on that leaderboard in this community, on social media, from Shondaland, from Shonda's crew. Find an accountability partner. And if you don't have an accountability partner, please reach out to one of the Peloton instructors, because we would be happy to support your journey.
Oh,
Thank you, Shonda Rhimes. I cannot wait. Queen Shonda Rhimes, it is my honor to speak with you today. I'm seeing your face, even though Queen Shonda Rhimes, it is my honor to speak with you today.
Sorry. This next slide is just kind of takeaway, just kind of some self-care. It's misinterpreted as a luxury, a privilege, like Mindy said at the beginning. It's not just pedicures and bubble baths. We're required, and this might be a quote that I took from Peloton too. We're required to enter each day with a crown and cape to handle anything that life hands us. Y'all do this as teachers. You do this as counselors, as paras, as principals, and then we're supposed to go home and be moms or dads and cook dinner and go do all the after school stuff. But we have to take care of ourselves. We have one body, one mind. And I really like this picture, recharge and refocus for 2021. When our smartphones are on 10%, we rush, look for a charger, charge it. But when we are on 10%, we keep going and going and going and going till we have nothing left to give. So remember that. Remember to try to figure out how you can incorporate self-care so you're not running on that low battery over and over again. Okay, last super quick video, just to kind of, this is motivating, just to kind of get you through your week. We had a crazy last week. It was insane. No one would have ever expected it. And now we're expected to just kind of pick up the pieces and go on with our normal life. So I hope you got something from this. Reach out to any of the counselors for help with self-care, anything you might need. We are here to support you. Y'all are in the trenches every day in the classrooms, and we are super proud of all the things that you're doing. So I will show you this.
I've got a public service announcement for every teacher, educator, and counselor out here in the world. You are American heroes. When this pandemic first took place, everybody was talking about how amazing and awesome and how essential doctors and nurses and firemen and police officers, first responders are. And I agree, but guess what? You are essential. You all are American heroes because you show up and you show out every single day for the life of these kids. And when this COVID-19 happened, you told yourself that you will not stop that from allowing you to give these kids the absolute best that they deserve. We're talking about American heroes like the first responders. We're talking about American heroes like Doctors Without Borders. They phenomenal whether they in Afghanistan or in Johns Hopkins University. They told themselves nothing will stop them from being successful. Nothing will stop them from being powerful. Nothing will stop them from bringing that aid. You all are American heroes like Representative John Lewis. He told himself nothing was going to stop him. 45 plus times arrested and put in jail. Skull fracture. He didn't sign up for that, but he signed up for justice. He signed up for equality. He signed up for love. He signed up for unity. And I know what some of you are thinking. You didn't sign up for virtual learning. You didn't sign up for mask in the class. I get it, but you did sign up for education, American hero. You did sign up to bring help and to bring comfort and to bring relief to these kids, American hero. You did sign up to be educators, to mold them and shape the hearts and minds of our future leaders, American hero. You did sign up to go above and beyond and reach these kids where they are, believing that they can do great things in the future, American hero. And I got no doubt what you can do and accomplish when you have your mindset and your perspective intact. So do me a favor, don't show the world what you can do. Show the world who you are, an American hero.
Okay. Sorry, I was just going to say, I don't know. I think that was our last slide, right? And I know it's like
Yes.
we're rounding
Yes.
down. And,
Yeah.
I wanted to say and piggyback off of something that, first of all, yeah, as all of you teachers, thank you so much for what you do. Like, you guys are amazing. I feel like every time I send an email to the teachers here, I'm always end it with like, you're rock stars. Thank you so much, because they are. But also something that Lindsay said as well, and I'll just piggyback off of that, is that reach out. I think a lot of times we think that the counselor on your campus is, yes, we're here for the children, but sometimes a teacher, you're more than welcome to come in my office and, sit down and vent, or sit down and just have a moment to yourself. So just wanted to put that out there as well.
And I think self-care is more important now than it ever has been with COVID and then the last week. So it's important to take care of you. I mean, we're supposed to be on full time all the time at school, at home. So please take care of yourselves. So yeah, that's really all we have.
I just shared over there. So last week, one day I was on with some other different people. I don't remember, it was in the evening, a webinar thing, and they shared those cards. I put the link to. It's a morning upgrade, it says, and it talks about being more productive if you make a short to-do list. And so I probably won't buy the cards. She had bought the cards. But it talks about AM gratitudes and PM wins. And so I have that on a sticky note next to me, and it talks about how helpful it is to go over those positives and remember them at the end of the day. So I thought that was super neat. Somebody else shared. I'm not saying I've done it well yet, but I liked it.
I love it. All right. Any questions?
Well, thank y'all for spending your Tuesday afternoon with